What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A Repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Christopher Gold. Chris, how are you?
I am doing very well, Justin. I just got back from a nice celebratory dinner with your Uncle Kevin, actually. He just celebrated his retirement after, God, I don't know how many decades that he was working for social services for the state. And he just retired the end of May. And so we had a nice dinner at a nice Italian restaurant, and I am stuffed. I am full to the gills, my friend.
Yeah, that is awesome. You were telling me about the very sweet wine that you had with your meal. Perhaps too sweet.
Perhaps too sweet, which is very surprising because, as you know, as you have mocked me before in the past, I prefer a little sweeter wine as opposed to drier wine. And but even so, this wine, which was it was a local bottler. This was a very sweet wine. It was almost like drinking candy syrup. That's how sweet it was.
Yeah.
And I distinctly thought, like, as soon as we poured it, we toasted him, like, hey, happy retirement. I took a sip. I was like, oh, this is really sweet. Like, this is good. I was like, oh, man, this is the type of shit, like, Justin and everyone else, they would hate, you know. And then I took, like, another couple sips. I was like, oh, man, this is a little too sweet. It was a lot. And then Justin, on the label, after a while, I looked at the label. It said it was semi-sweet white wine. It was semi-sweet.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be very afraid to see what the regular sweet volume of that would be.
And it would just be like, oh god, it's like a heart attack in a bottle. Like, you know, you just like your whole body, like you take a sip. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where the guy eats the steak. Like you take a sip and you're like, and you just freeze there like you're dead.
Oh yeah.
it's like this man is dead. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, probably from a different glass of wine.
Yeah, suffering from food poisoning, perhaps from some different meat establishment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So that was my experience. How about you? I know you just came back from dinner with everyone.
Yeah, I just had a really good turkey burger from a restaurant that had your favorite pickles on top, along with sauteed mushrooms and onions. And
now you're talking.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Turkey burgers are tough, and sometimes when you get them from restaurants, they're too dry or something. But this one was nice and juicy. Tasted really good. Annie, who we were with, got a mahi mahi burger.
Ooh, with the pineapple on top.
Didn't have the pineapple. It was just a fish with like lettuce, tomato, and like a tartar sauce. And she gave me a piece of it, and man, that was unbelievably good. And you could taste like the grill marks that were on there, like that. It was just cooked very well.
Oh
yeah,
man,
good stuff.
If I wasn't so full, you'd be making me hungry.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we always talk about food on this pod, but this isn't very much a pod related or a food related pod. This is a video game related pod. We talk about video games and shit on this podcast. And
we could have a spin-off pod at some point.
We
just
very
talking
well
about
could.
food. Yeah, food A repeatedly.
But
eat A repeatedly? I don't know.
Yeah, we would work on that a little bit.
Yeah, we can workshop that.
Press food in your mouth.
press food repeatedly.
But yeah, no, we are here to talk about video games and shit for the 90th time.
90 episodes, Justin. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's our golden anniversary.
That's not the golden anniversary. I don't think the 90th is any type of anniversary. It might be the paper anniversary. I don't know.
Oh, with the wedding anniversary. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something bars, something blue, something 90. How about you?
Is that the pickup line that all the old ladies try to use on you when they're like complimenting you on your beautiful fro or your facial hair?
I was just speaking with Chris before we started recording that if it was kosher for me as a almost 32-year-old to date 60-year-old women, that I would totally clean up because they are in love with me. They love my curly hair. They think I'm very handsome. But yeah, women anywhere near my age seem to stay far away. So I must be doing something right with the oldies, the old biddies, but something wrong with the millennial girls or something.
No, listen. They're a throwback. The throwback looks that all the old ladies love. It's starting to come back. There's bound to be some lady who is somewhere in her 40s or 50s who is bound to go for you.
They get quite vicious. They see my hair and they're like, "Oh, do you know what I have to do to get hair like that?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, I just wish I could have your hair. I'm like, I have to go. It's very, very scary.
They like put their arm up next to you. And it's like, give me your hair, Justin. I'm getting that hair one way
or another. It's essentially what happened. Can't go out during the dinner special rush.
Can't go out during Bingo night.
Yeah, oh yeah, I get sworn.
Old Country Buffet is just out.
Yeah, can never go there again. For many reasons, I would not go there again.
No, Old Country Buffet is terrible. Don't sponsor us, Old Country Buffet. We don't want it.
Yeah. We are slightly veering off topic here. Our Old Lady podcast will be premiering next week. Chris, what do we have in the pipeline for today?
Justin, we are keeping things a little weird. So, the topic for this particular episode, just recently, the company Panic, they just announced that they are releasing a video game handheld of their own. This handheld is unique, to put it one way, I guess. It's a very tiny device. I saw somebody holding a version of it. It looks like it literally just fits it's the size of the palm of your hand. It's got a couple buttons on the front, and I think that it's got it's a monochromatic screen. It's not backlit, and most noticeably, this device comes with a crank on the right side of the device that you use to move the characters and control part of the action that's going on in the games. The games, which are pre-built into the device, and each day one of the games will be released into the world for people to play on the device. So everything that you're buying is already on the device itself. It's just that over time they will be unlocked naturally, and then you can play more and more games. And I thought that's interesting. Like a lot of people, when it was announced, people thought that's an interesting idea. And then a few days after that, it was announced that the Ouya streaming console that was announced several years ago, those services are being discontinued. And I remember at the time, Ouya was considered to be like, this could be the next big thing. And it's a very strange out-of-the-box idea. But unfortunately, it never took off. So that coupled, of course, with the reveal of the Death Stranding trailer this week, which we finally got a release date for. We actually got some gameplay footage of the damn thing. But even then, people still aren't 100% sure what this game is about. So I thought this was an interesting week for weirdness in video games. So I thought, let's talk about this weirdness. Why do some weird ideas take off and others don't? And what's the appeal of, I guess, going outside the box in the video game industry?
Yeah, definitely. And, Chris, I think you had brought this up last episode, but, we are 1 week out from E3 2019. Super excited for that, of course. But, they started doing these things now where they're dropping off some video game, surprises here and there before E3, the weeks before E3.
Right.
And a lot of stuff that's come out this past week and the week before, as Chris has been saying, has been quite weird and stuff that we aren't really sure what to make of. So, yeah, we'll be talking about all that stuff a little bit later on. It's just a fun little prep, I guess, for our next episode, which will totally cover E3 2019 in its entirety. A lot of big stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, next week in particular. And, as usual, we will be watching and recording and reporting just for you. And, I'm looking forward to it. It's always crazy, but, I'm really excited to see what kind of crazy stuff we're going to see in the next week.
Right. But and we'll discuss all that, the weirdness and strangeness in a little bit. But Justin, speaking of last episode, as I'm sure you recall, I made some comments last week regarding the Animal Crossing franchise that may have been considered controversial by some, and included among that list of controversy was one of our most faithful listeners, who, Justin, he saw fit to write us an email.
Emails.
It doesn't happen a lot, folks, but when it does, it's always a great time whenever we get an email. So don't forget, always write.
There's a lot of passion behind these emails.
Whenever we get
when one comes in,
whenever we get an email, we're always like, "Oh boy, we fucked up." So I knew as soon as the email came in, I saw the inbox. The header was no, in increasing anger, and it came from a faithful listener and friend of the pod, Nick, your brother, and I am going to read this email in what I assume his tone of voice would be if he was speaking to us in person.
All right.
So,
take us there.
All right. So this email is from Nick. And again, it's just no. Hello to everyone in the PAR crew except Chris. Chris, you have been disgusting and wrong before, but you have never been more disgustinglier or wronglier than you were on last week's episode regarding clothing design in Animal Crossing. Do you know what the first thing I did was after becoming mayor of my town, Aurora? Chris, do you? Huh? Do you? Well, let me educate you. I went immediately to the Able Sisters and made myself 2 suits. One elegant gray pinstriped 3-piece affair with a lavender tie, and a blue working man's suit with an orange tie for the day-to-day hustle. Apparently, in Chrisville, the mayor just buys whatever mass-produced rags are laying around in the discount aisle off the rack and calls it a day. Oh, is that a tie-dye belly shirt and a red beaver skin Canadian hunter hat? Sure, who gives a shit? I don't know what kind of amateur hour bureaucratic nonsense they are electing over in Chrisville, but in my town, we demand professionalism from our elected officials. May God have mercy on your low-fashioned soul. Warmest regards, Nicholas.
So there's a lot to unpack here.
So, Nick disagrees with me regarding the clothing design. I feel like that's number one. Fairly obvious. From
I love that he made suits, and I never did that when I was playing New Leaf, and I really wish I did because I feel like it's such a waste of opportunity. It made me think of like those stories of like somebody who like they have very humble beginnings and they're working hard to get into power. But then they get into power and they become like these massive like tyrants that like they've hated, that they always resisted like in the beginning, and like the story just kind of loops. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's like when I get into power, things are gonna change, and then you become like the horrible bureaucrat who lords over everything. You become corrupted. It's natural. So yeah. Let me see. Firstly. It's not called Chrisville. I don't remember. What was my town called? I remember in the original Animal Crossing, I wanted to call my town Dumper Town.
Right.
but there wasn't enough space, so I called it Dumper Toe.
I remember Dumper Toe.
Oh, that's right. In New Leaf, because it was a new version of Dumper Toe, I called it New Dump.
That's right, New Dump.
So yes, so my town's name was not Chrisville, it was New Dump. Thank you very much.
And we had played online before, and I remember having animals move in from your town. Like, yeah, I just came over from New Dump, and this new place is great. I was like, well,
yeah,
I mean,
New
Dump.
This place is named a lot better than friggin' New Dump. Who calls it that? Did you see what the mayor was wearing? It was literally the same shit every single day.
Beaver cap.
All right, and that's another thing. There is nothing wrong with wearing a red beaver skin Canadian hunter hat, okay? That is classy. Do not want to insult our Canadian listeners. They have wonderful fashion sense. Shame on you, Nick. Shame on you.
The mass-produced rags is my favorite line of that email.
There's so much greatness in this email.
So much venom.
There's so much passion, so much anger in here. I love it. But what can I say? Nick is as entitled to his wrong opinion as Justin, you are entitled to your wrong opinion.
Hey, we hung out a few times with the group after the recording of that episode, and we kind of took we asked the audience about what they thought, and unfortunately, Chris, your ideals were...
Listen, democracy doesn't mean that the majority is right, okay? It just means that the majority hold a specific belief and enforce that belief upon the masses. It doesn't mean that they are right or wrong. History will look on me favorably.
Well,
I regret nothing.
Maybe in the new Animal Crossing, you'll learn to appreciate clothes designing a little bit more than you had.
I'll give it a try, I guess. I don't know.
Make a suit. I'll make a suit.
I'll make a damn good suit. I'll put Nick's suits to shame. We'll see who's wearing the rags.
All right. Well, we always love hearing from the fans.
We always love hearing from Nick. We always love hearing from you guys. Don't forget, send us more emails. We love reading them on the show. parpodcast@gmail.com. Keep them coming. We love reading them.
Yeah, let's face it. We say plenty of stuff that's controversial on this pod. So if you disagree, light us up.
Yeah, let us have it. Don't just let me have it. Let Justin have it. He says some stupid shit.
But maybe my shit speaks to people.
Your shit isn't as stupid as my shit. It's okay. I understand. But yes. So now that we've read our email for this episode, Justin, let's talk video games. Specifically, what are you playing?
Yeah, let's get back at it. I have been playing. I finished SteamWorld Quest. Wrapped that up, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed that game a lot. I think right now it might be one of my favorite game of the year so far. But I really haven't played.
Really?
Yeah. No, I just really enjoyed playing that game and its systems and everything. But I haven't. There's still a lot of games for me to play this year. I haven't really played a lot of big games. I've been focusing a lot on indie so far.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of big stuff that's coming out or that's out already that I just haven't gotten around to yet. So that's what I'll be dipping into.
Nice. How do you rate it as compared to the rest of the SteamWorld games?
So it's interesting because the genres are different, right? So they all play kind of different.
Right.
And I haven't played Heists, so I can't talk about that. But compared to SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2, personally, I like the Dig games a little bit better because I enjoy like that platforming exploration aspect a little bit more than an RPG.
Right.
But the turn-based RPG of SteamWorld Quest is done so well. I think the card battle system is used so interestingly and so strategically in that game. That I did really enjoy it. I think it was about 15 hours total to beat, which I think is a good amount of time. I really enjoyed the cast. The production and the music of that game is very, very good. And it doesn't surpass the big games for me, but it still is a super worthy entry in the Steam World universe, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Nice, that's more than fair.
Yeah, definitely. I recommend you play. It just came out on PC. If anybody was waiting for the PC version to come out, it is available now on Steam. But it's been out on Switch since the end of April. So yeah, I wrapped that up, and I've been putting together a document that I still need to share with everybody of just games that have been coming out this year, because I kind of want us to be able to reference that during the year as we prepare for eventually the game of the year.
Game of the year. Yep. Always got to be prepared for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year's game of the year, when I put my list together, I realized I really didn't play as many games as I would have liked, and I was trying to brainstorm some ways to fix that for this year. So, at this point, the document is helping, and, I'm going to share it to everybody soon. But Metro Exodus is the game I've been really wanting to play. It came out back in March. And
okay.
Yeah, so, I finished SteamWorld Quest. I wanted to play something different. I wanted to play like a big budget game. I wanted to give indies a little bit of a break. I wanted to play something outside of the realm of stuff that I normally play, and I really wanted to play a game on my PC. So like all the stuff the stars kind of aligned for Metro Exodus, which is a first-person shooter in the Metro series. There's 3 Metro games, I believe. Metro Last Light, the original Metro game, and then Metro Exodus. And I watched trailers for Metro Exodus. I think it was last E3 when it was first shown off. And always stuck in the back of my head is like a really cool looking, like a post-apocalyptic, like kind of first-person shooter, like adventure style game.
Right.
And I was monitoring it for a while, and I just kind of wanted to wait for a good sale, for a good time to pick it up. And it had a little bit of a drama actually, because it came out originally on Steam.
Oh, that's
and then
right. I
switched
remember
over.
this.
Yeah, the developers decided to put it on the Epic Game Store, remove it from Steam. So that all that happened a couple of months ago, and so it wasn't on Steam. I had to download the Epic Games Launcher, which is another games launcher for the PC, which is kind of annoying. The good news, however, is that the game was on sale for $45 on the Epic Games Launcher, and you get a 10% discount for the first game that you buy on the Epic Game Launcher. So I wound up getting Metro for like $36 or something, and it was awesome.
That's
I was
good.
Like, what a steal.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. And it's running great on my computer. It's a ton of fun. I really enjoy playing first-person shooters with a mouse and keyboard. I'm not good at first-person shooters, so I wanted to play something to get a little bit better at, to get a little more acclimated. Wow,
acclimated.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of that word. To get back into that genre. I'm playing it on easy because I didn't want to like get any too overwhelmed or anything. And even on easy, it's a little tough. But I'm getting the hang of the movement and everything and how it's working. And I gotta say, this game is really fun. I am liking it a lot. It's not exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but I think it actually is in a good way. Something different. I thought it was gonna be more of a like you're on your own, like survival horror-y almost kind of game. But it's really not, because it's a post-apocalyptic game where you are part of it takes place in Russia, and you're part of this like army squadron that is supposed to protect the civilians that have survived a nuclear holocaust. They're living in the metro systems of Russia, which is why it's called Metro. And you're on this army squad, and your character Artyom, he is convinced that is other life still alive in the world after the Great War. At this point, everybody only thinks that this 50,000 people that are left in Russia are the only people left alive on the planet. But Artyom thinks that's not right, so he keeps trying to go out and find more people. Without spoiling anything, eventually you find out that there are more people in the universe or in the world, and you're setting out to basically greet them, to expand your horizons and look for like a new place to live. And so you're with a small army group, and you commandeer a train, and you're moving through Russia, and like you're trying to get to where you need to go to set up a new life, basically. And the characters are really great. The writing's okay. The dialogue's not like perfect, but it's easy to kind of look over that.
Is it like broken English with Russian accents?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right. So it's like, comrade, did you eat borscht before beginning mission?
Yeah.
Nah. It's like, nah. I drink vodka. That is meal.
That is pretty much exactly it. The writing is it's not bad. Like the overall story is really good. It's just that some of the dialogue's a little lame, and how it's presented isn't great. And sometimes the characters are talking over each other. Some of the voice acting isn't too great, but none of that is a deal breaker because overall the game's still fun. The shooting feels great. The guns are really cool. It takes place, the year is 2035, so it's a little bit more in the future, but it's not like you're not shooting alien guns. You're still shooting like some pretty modern weapons, pistols and sniper rifles and shotguns.
I feel like that's smart, because this always happens whenever video games are like, oh, this game is set in the future, and it's like something set in the 80s. It's like, oh, in the year 2010, and people are like flying around in like jetpacks, and aliens are like cohabitating with humans, and it's like, no, that's not what came to pass, fellas. Didn't work that way. So, keeping it a little bit more grounded in reality, I feel like is a smart choice on their part.
Yeah, it's a good blend of, you're fighting like mutants from like the war. They're like these zombie kind of people and like these demon dog things, but you're also fighting a lot of bandits and like other humans that have survived that have weapons that are like trying to fend themselves off against you. So it's a lot like Fallout. I think it's a slightly better Fallout in some cases. I think like the story maybe is a little better. The world's presented a little bit better than Fallout. But I was getting some strong Fallout vibes from it.
What you described to me, I honestly, it's funny because I was starting to think, I was like, that sounds very Fallout-ish in my head.
Yeah, but it's not as isolated as you feel in Fallout, because it's kind of just you and the companion maybe. Whereas you have like a whole team of this army that you're in. There's like a captain and his daughter is also your wife. And there's like about 6 or 7 other guys that are part of the squadron that you're with, and you're meeting people along the way that are also joining the team. So there's a cool kind of crew there with you. And there's a crafting system in it for your weapons that I really like, because it's pretty simplistic. It's you're finding basically 2 different types of crafting material, and everything from bullets to med kits to repairing your gas mask to gun upgrades. Basically, they all base around these 2 crafting material items that you can find. So if you have a lot of both, you can just kind of upgrade like a bunch of stuff at the same time. Like, the upgrades tree and UI of the system is very simple, and I appreciate that. I feel like a lot of games get a little too complicated and that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit of a turnoff personally for me. But I enjoy the simplicity of that system.
So about how far are you in?
I think I'm about halfway through. It's not a very long game from what I've been reading. But it's also one of those games that you can play how you want, because from what I've read, this is the third game of the series and the first one that's kind of open worldish. The first two were take place mostly in the metro systems of Russia, and it's very kind of like, you're on the path and like a guy might pop out and you shoot him and then you keep going. Like
very
classic first person shooters. Not on rails per se, but like think of like GoldenEye or like Perfect Dark, you're going down corridors and stuff,
Right, more linear. Okay, yeah. I gotcha.
This one has some of that, but there's also like these areas that you're in that you can explore and find some different items and stuff, which is cool. And I've been kind of blasting through it, but I think I'm going to start actually taking some time to like explore, because apparently I was reading I missed a lot of good items from the first world, because I didn't even think about actually like looking out for them. But there's some good upgrades and stuff that I could have found if I explored a little bit. So I'm going to try and do that here where I am now. But yeah, going back to the weird dialogue, the UI is actually pretty good in the game. Where I don't play a lot of first person shooters, so if this is something that has been happening for a while, I apologize for not being like aware of it. But like I'd walk up on like a camp, and if I'm spotted, like I'm like ducking behind the car, they're like, there he is, he's behind the car. Like they know like where you are, and they say it like to the other guys, and they all start coming at you. So I thought that was kind of cool and like realistic.
Yeah, the AI has gotten really, really good, not just for first-person games, but just like in general. It's definitely different from the days where like you can just kind of hide out of sight, and they're not going to notice that you're there. Even at the time, like a lot of and I know exactly what you're talking about. Like back in the day, even Half-Life 2, for as heralded as that game was for its physics engine and how realistic, like you shoot the enemies and they like die realistically, it's become almost a bit of a meme at this point. Their line of sight is so terrible, you can literally pick up a can, hold it in front of you so it's blocking the enemy's face, and the enemy won't see you. like you can move the can to the side, and then they'll be like, oh, they'll start shooting you, but then you like put the can up in front of their face, and it's almost like you're hiding. So you can literally walk right up to an enemy in Half-Life 2, toss the can at them, and then just start shooting them, and they'll be like, oh, like where did you come from? The AI has gotten much, much better in first-person shooters since that.
There's parts of Metro that I wish was like that, because there's a whole stealth system to the game that I think is I don't really understand it, and it's very difficult. There are missions where it's kind of like your choice. Like you don't have to kill everybody. You can sneak your way to like the goal of whatever you're trying to do, or you can just kind of say fuck it and just start shooting and kill everybody. And if you do go like the killer route, like when you complete it, you'll have like some dialogue lines from your team, and I'll be like, "Hey, we did it! I just wish we could have like spared these people or something." So I think you get like a different ending or something if you can, I guess, kill less people if you don't have to.
Yeah, if you go to the pacifist ending, it's like, we did it. I just wish we could have killed some people.
Yeah, no, it's probably something like that, like lose. But it's really difficult to sneak in this game. Like I'm having such a hard time where like there's three guys that are like walking like back and forth, and I try to sneak up behind them, and you have this little sensor on your wrist that like lights up if you're in a possible viewing area of an enemy, so that's helpful. But the thing is, like they don't ever really move out of the way for you to sneak around them. So I guess you have to maybe like cause a distraction. You have these like metal cans you can throw that would like get them to come over out of the way. But even then you only have a very limited amount. So like I would burn through them quickly. Like I can like sneak up and take a guy out, but like right next to him is another guy watching me take this guy out, and like it'll sound off the alarm. So I don't know, maybe I'm just really bad at sneaking games, which I definitely am. I am very bad at sneaking, so that could be part of it. But I feel like it's very difficult to just get through an area without getting caught.
Stealth is very tricky to pull off, especially in that's an interesting design choice in a first-person shooter game. Because with stealth, you want to be able to look behind you. You want to look all around you to see, like, oh, is someone sneaking up behind me? Do I need to move? That's really hard to pull off when you're only limited to just the first-person view.
Yeah, no, it's definitely annoying. But like I said, I don't think it's really necessary at any point. So that's not a big deal. I guess you can just kind of play however you want to get around it. There's one part of the game that had me laughing very hard was like I said, the dialogue of the game isn't really that great at times, but I was when you break into like an enemy camp, at least in the beginning of the game, all the guys start running around, and like I said, they're like, oh, he's behind the blue car or whatever, but they just call you a fucking bitch all the time. And they'll be like, where is that fucking bitch? I don't see that fucking bitch. I know you're here, you fucking bitch. Come out, you fucking bitch. There's the fucking bitch. I found the fucking bitch. Like every sentence they say the fucking bitch, and it's hysterical. Where is that fucking bitch?
Where is this fucking bitch? Surprise, you fucking bitch. Happy
Literally,
birthday,
I swear
you
to God.
fucking bitch.
I swear to God. Every line they say has the words fucking bitch in it. Come on, you fucking bitch. Do you think I will surrender to you, you fucking bitch? It's like there are more insults that you could have used. You fucking bitch.
That's so good. That's just imagine like
every and it's like 6 of them. There's the fucking bitch. Where's the fucking bitch? There's the fucking bitch. Oh, the fucking bitch. It's like, all right, yes, I'm a fucking bitch. I get it.
Yes, I get it. I understand. You guys got me.
But yeah, that's Metro. I think I'm about halfway through. I hope to finish it up by next episode. But yeah, I'm really liking it, and it's nice because I haven't played a first-person shooter for a long time, and I was afraid it would be like too difficult or I wasn't gonna like it. But I am playing on easy, but it's still a good challenge, and it's helping me get better with like aiming and conserving ammo and that kind of stuff too. And
right.
It's fun. It's a cool game. If you're interested, definitely check it out.
All right, awesome. So, do you have anything else going?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it besides like Smash Bros. And stuff. So I will pass the ball over to your court.
All right. So I've been playing. It's funny because I know I've talked before how little I really care about mobile games, but I've been playing more of the Elder Scrolls Blades beta.
Oh, nice.
And it's beta is strong. It's early access, and it's so far I'm enjoying it. Like it's funny because it's a fairly typical mobile experience. Like you have the town and you have to rebuild it, and so far like I just got my town, the town of Blarfburg, up to level 3.
Okay.
And to do that, you have to build like all sorts of different shops and dwellings. Like I can build, it's weird because I can build homesteads, houses, or dwellings in some of the different ruined parts of the towns. And I'm thinking like, what's the difference? Like they all like house people. Like that's their function. So I don't know if it's just a flavor thing, like, oh, build a different type of home here or there or wherever.
Is there like a guide in the game you can reference?
I mean, like as you get the ability to upgrade ruined plots of land in the town, you can look at different information, and all it really tells you is how much gold it takes to repair this particular plot of land, and it also shows you how many and what type of like crafting items that you need. Like, oh, you need so much iron, you need lumber, you need something else you need stone to repair things. So so you just like go in and you build the land, and it's funny because it reminds me of a mobile experience. Like if it was an isometric point of view, if you could see your character roaming around, it would be the same basic design. Like you build a house, and then after 3 hours, after like 6 hours or so, the house will be built, and then it will upgrade your town's prestige, and then your town will level up, and as your town levels up, you can build more things in your town to level it up even more. At certain levels, you can build, like right at the start, you can build timber buildings made of wood, but then you can build stone buildings, and then you can build like stronger buildings from that. So you have to unlock those, and you get varied types of buildings. Like you don't have to build just houses. You can also build, like I built a smithy. I got an alchemy workshop. Right now, I'm trying to find like an actual workshop itself, which will sell crafting items itself, and will allow me different customization options once that's available. So yeah, Blarfberg is really coming along. It's looking good.
Those blarfers.
Yeah, that's what you call people from Blarfberg. Yeah, it's funny because at the start, like, there aren't a lot of people there naturally because the Bloodfall Queen had come in and raised the town, and a lot of different bandits and goblins had come in and kidnapped a lot of the villagers. So a lot of the earlier missions are, go save the townsfolk. So you go and save them, and they're like, oh, thank you so much. I'm going back to town right away. And I'm imagining them come back, and they're like, wait, what did they name the town? It's like, oh yeah, this is Blarfberg now, and you're a Blarfer.
Get blarfing.
All right, get to Blarfing.
So is the town like building and raising and stuff like a crucial part of the game, or is it kind of like a side thing that you can do?
It's kind of a side thing. It's one of those things where you have the main quest where you have to confront the Bloodfall Queen about what she's doing and why she's doing it. And then right now I've done a bit of the main mission where it seems like the Bloodfall Queen, she wasn't simply attacking your town just because she was evil. Apparently there was reasoning behind what she was doing, which I haven't gotten to yet. I've kind of have pieced together what may be the reason for why she attacked the town. But it's not, as it is usually with Elder Scrolls, it's not as simple as it seems. So as you unlock more parts of the town, that will up the prestige, and you can buy stronger items, stronger material. You can get better weapons, better armor. So as you upgrade the town, you can more easily upgrade yourself. So as you go on the main quest, or you go on different side quests, different jobs that get posted, and there's jobs that get posted like all the time. There's daily and weekly tasks that you have to accomplish, and you can go on these tasks and you can beat them yourselves, or you can spend emeralds to just simply like, oh, here's a job that you can do, and you can either do the job, or you can just spend 60 emeralds and say, the job is done, just give me the rewards.
Right.
Yeah, and you get the emeralds. The emeralds are the moneymaker of the game, so you can earn them, you can find chests, and if you're lucky, you can get emeralds there. Sometimes enemies will drop emeralds. You might get emeralds as a reward for doing different tasks. But the quickest way to get emeralds is to buy emeralds with actual
real world money.
Yep, with actual human being money, which I have not done and have absolutely and utterly no plans to do whatsoever. But the option is there for anyone there. And it's funny, every time I'll like level up, and it's like, oh, I can up my magic, I can up my stamina, and then I get points to allocate towards a skill tree to upgrade my skills in different ways. And once I get the skill point and it's time to go to the skill tree, there's a little thing that pops up. It's like, oh hey, do you want to go to the store real quick and maybe purchase a legendary chest? It's half off right now because you leveled up. And I was like, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah, typical mobile in-game advertisement kind of thing.
Yeah, just trying to string you along. But again, aside from the the predatory practices of trying to part me with my money, it's still fun. Like it's got me hooked. I want to upgrade my town as much as I can. My character is looking pretty good. I just leveled up to level 10, so yeah, I'm feeling good, feeling strong.
Awesome.
Let me see. I played some Smash Brothers yesterday with a friend of the show, Matt.
Yeah.
He actually came up to my apartment to visit because yesterday it was the Champions League soccer final between Liverpool and Tottenham, which I'm sure very few of those words make sense to you, but it was essentially the Super Bowl of soccer. Is probably the best way to put it. So he and we both enjoy soccer. So he's like, hey, I want to come up to watch with you. So I was like, okay, cool. Come on up. So he came up. We watched the game. Liverpool won. Blech. And then he was like, you want to play Smash? I was like, hell yeah. So we played Smash, him, me, and Elena. And credit where it's due, he mopped the floor with us. Like, he obliterated us. It was frankly humiliating, Justin.
He is always a tough fight. You got to be on your absolute A game when you're facing Matt.
I was on my Z game when fighting Matt. I was just doing absolutely awful. Was
it Yoshi versus Falco?
The last match was Yoshi versus Falco. And it just wasn't even close. In my defense, I will say, just putting it out there, in my defense, this is not an excuse, but in my defense, he had the Joy-Cons. He had both Joy-Cons in the Joy-Con grip when he was playing. I don't have a spare controller, but fortunately, Elena, when she comes up on the weekends, she has her Switch. So she and I were splitting the Joy-Cons that came with her Switch. So I had the one half of the Joy-Con on its side, and she had the other half. So the control options were limited. That is not an excuse, but I will just say that our control schemes were different.
Okay.
So
I think that's a legit... yeah, you don't want to say excuse, but it's a little bit of a hurdle.
Yeah, it is a hurdle, but it's not the reason I lost. I'm not pinning that on that. Yeah, Matt was just simply like, you ever have a streak where you're just like, yeah, like I'm in a groove? He was in a groove. Justin,
oh yeah.
And especially, to reinforce the point where I can't blame the controller, the very first match that we played, I was Yoshi, and I forget who he was. He was not Falco to start out with, but he was somebody. I can't remember. I had two lives to his one, and he had like 70% health at that point. He came back and beat me. Like, he came back and kicked my ass and killed me, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And yeah, but no, he just legit came back and took me out. I saved the replay of that match because I was like, you know what, I gotta save it for posterity.
Study the film. You gotta study the film.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't. I can't let that one just slide into obscurity. I did let slide into obscurity when he 3-stocked both me and Elena.
Oh.
Yeah, that one, I was like, yeah, I never want to remember this fight again for the rest of my life.
And it was that moment when you said, all right, Matt, you should really be leaving now.
No, we had dinner to go to after that.
Before you kicked him out.
Yeah, I was like, all right, first dinner, then you have to go. But no, it was a legit nice time. It's always good seeing that.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, so not the best time I've ever had playing Smash, but it's okay. I'll get them next time. Maybe.
That's the best part about getting your butt stomped in, is that you got to take some time and you start practicing again because you don't want it to happen again.
Yep. Sometimes it's just not your day. And it really was not my day that day.
Yeah. All right, well, that's great. I'm glad you guys got to hang out and play some Smash. It's always a great time.
Yes. And the last game I played, before getting into my indie arcade, this was actually a game, not to tip my hand a little bit, Justin, but this was a game that Elena had suggested that I give to you for the indie arcade this week. And she was like, oh, maybe this one would be nice for Justin to play. And I was like, oh, let me check it out. And I looked at it and I was like, it was very, very cheap on the Nintendo Switch eShop. I had never heard of the game before. She just happened to find it. And I was like, this actually sounds interesting. Let me give it a try. This game was Old Man's Journey.
That sounds familiar. Go ahead. Let me look it up.
I had never heard of this game before Elena mentioned it. She was like, oh, you should give Justin this game. And I was like, I kind of want to give this game a shot myself. So I was like, I'll give him something else. But so we discussed more possibilities, which I'll get into in a little bit. Don't you worry. So I played Old Man's Journey for myself, and I gotta say, I can understand, it's super, super indie. It's about an old man who lives by the sea who receives a message of some kind. The game is completely wordless. There's no spoken dialogue. The most you'll get is people be like, yeah, that sort of thing. And it's okay, I guess. It's not. The game itself really wasn't very thrilling. It doesn't seem like the type of game that's going to be too long. I haven't beaten it yet, mostly because I think I kind of lost interest a little. So
hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's part of the game.
Yeah. So the actual gameplay is the old man who lives by the sea, who has a fantastic old man white beard, down to his chest.
I'm looking at it right now. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it is a beautiful beard. He receives a message of some sort, and he goes into his cabin, packs up his stuff, gets his backpack, and decides to go on a nice little journey. And the whole game takes place. It's kind of like a left to right 2D side scroller almost, but you select different. I can almost see this as if having been a mobile game initially, because it feels like a lot of the gameplay involves pointing and clicking and dragging different things to different levels. What you have to do is the old man, you point to different areas on the screen that you're on, and he will walk there. And let's say it's kind of it's kind of almost like a 2D yet 3D environment where he walks down a hill and there's a bunch of hills in the background. You can grab the hills that are in the background and drag them down, and then you can make the old man walk along the path where the back hill intersects with the foreground hill, and he'll walk onto that hill. Then you can adjust the other hills and do the same thing and make him walk back and forth so he gets up the hills that were initially in the background, and the top hill will lead to the next screen. The only restriction is you can't move a hill that he's standing on. So you have to move the hill based on where you want him to go first, then move him there. Then you can move the other hill that he was just standing on back to, it can move it up or down to a level where he can walk across it again, and then he can progress from there.
Got it.
So that's the chief gameplay mechanic of the game is just moving the hills around to try to get the old man to cross the scenery and get to the next area where he needs to be. There are some hazards where, like, there will be waterfalls where if he steps into a waterfall for a little bit, he'll be like, and it'll fall down to the level right below him, and then you'll have to march his way back up, and you'll have to do things again. Or you have to find a way to get him to the other side of the waterfall, drop down, and then he can walk down the hill on that side. So there is a bit of a puzzle element to it where you have to figure out, okay, what's the best way to get him where he needs to go, etc., etc. And you can click on virtually anything in the game, especially if you see people in the game. There will be different people, younger people, naturally, because everyone is younger than this old man. This very, very old man. And like, there will be different people doing just different things. You'll see some guy fishing, and you'll tap him, and he will drop his fishing line into the sea, and he'll pull out a fish, and grab the fish and put it on his boat. And then the camera will, like, zoom over to the old man, and he'll be like, he'll stroke his beard, and then he'll look up at the sky, and the camera will pan up to the sky, and then it will show, like, a static image of what I assume is the old man back when he was the young man, and he's with this lady, and yeah, it has to be like his wife who died, that sort of thing. And he's imagining, like, when he and his wife were on a boat, going out to the sea, and it was like, hey, here we go. And there's no, like, motion to it. It's just literally a static picture, and then the picture fades away, the camera pans back down, and the old man's like, and it's like, time to move on with the journey.
Does that happen at every NPC that you interact with? Does he have a little reminiscing scene?
Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets old after a while because, like, literally every time it happens, there's some guy waiting outside the cafe, you tap him, and then a bus will pull up, and the guy will get on the bus and drive off, and the old man will be like, and he'll, like, look up at the sky, and the camera will pan up, and he'll remember the time when, like, he and his wife got on a bus, and, like, and then it'll pan back down. It's like, time to move on, and I'm like,
click on the prostitute, and he's like,
looks up. It's like an R-rated scene. I'm like, ugh.
Oh god.
Yeah, the old man's like,
I kind of love it because it's like a boring old man story, but in a video game.
Yeah. The fortunate thing here is I have the option to tune out and not have to listen to the end of that story. Yeah. Back in 1962.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
I'm looking at the screenshots now, and I do remember that I think it was a long time ago when I was looking for a game to give you for an indie arcade. I came across this, and I watched the little game or the little, like, teaser video before it, and it was like the super sad music playing, and, like, the old man's, like, sitting on a bench by himself, and it's, like, raining, and he's, like, shivering, and it was, like, the most depressing video ever. And I was like, I can't give this to Chris. This just looks like way too depressing of a game to play.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure, like, if you get through the end, it has a lot of artistic merit to it, and will be like, oh, like, what a nice story that was. But the story itself hasn't really gotten me at this point. The gameplay to me isn't thrilling enough to really justify the lack of a story. So it's not really so fun to play, and the story isn't so interesting to stick through it. So yeah, I'm kind of giving this one a pass. It's just not really doing it for me.
No, I think it sounds like you like what they're going for. You like the art style and stuff, but just overall the gameplay's too drab. Like, it's just not engaging enough to keep going. Yeah, which is totally fine. And for different people, it might be more interesting. But yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yep. So that was the Old Man's Journey. That was not anyone's indie arcade, Justin, but I did have my indie arcade to get to.
That's right. So let's dive right on into the indie arcade.
Indie arcade.
If you remember last episode, I gave Chris the game When Ski Lifts Go Wrong to play. Chris, how did they go?
Justin, I feel like I missed my calling as a ski lift designer.
Okay.
I'm not terrible at it. Deaths were kept at a minimum. Uh, so,
So yeah, just real quick, I have to ask, like, is there a way to test the ski lifts without actual human beings on them?
so the way the game is set up is there is a story mode to the game where there's a story mode and then there's a free build mode. And I was like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing, so let me just do the story mode, which basically story mode is here's a huge tutorial to teach you how to create ski lifts. And I'm like, okay, so the whole game is it's set up, it's 2D, very almost circle shapey design where you have the skiers and you got to get them up to the slopes so they can ski. So build a ski lift. Okay, cool. Easy enough. So they teach you how to set up the base of the towers, how to actually assemble the towers. You can use planks of wood. You can use a giant tower of wood, which you'd have to secure with ropes to the sides of the mountains or to the ground to keep them stable. There's the pulley, the winch that will get you, that will help pull everything up. The wheels, which power the winch that are kept at the top of the towers. There's all sorts of different options to build these ski lifts. And there are lots of different factors that you have to keep in mind when building the ski lifts. One, they want to keep you under budget. So you have a certain budget, and you can build the ski lift, and you can be successful while still going over budget. It's just at the end, when you're evaluated, it's like, success. You're not going to get a medal for staying under budget. So there's a medal for staying under budget. There is a medal for, let me see, I think there's medals for just getting people through the course safely. So as long as people can get through the course okay, then you get a medal. And there is also just an additional medal that is hanging out on the course level, which if you can build your ski lift so that the skiers can grab that medal as they get to the top of the mountain to ride down, then you get that medal as well. And if you can get all three medals, then you get like an overall medal for the actual level itself.
Right. The achievement of getting all three medals.
Yes. So that's pretty much the basic design. There are different stages where it's like a regular ski lift where the skiers will ride on a bench to ride up there. There are different lifts where there are different levels where the lift is a pulley type lift where the skier has to hold on to like a rope, like a loop that is being pulled up on the winch, and they're on their skis already. And then once they get to the top of the mountain, they just let go, and then they'll ride down that way.
Got it.
So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Then there are levels where you are the skier yourself. So you're already at the top of the mountain, and then you have to design the ramp to leap over different like gaps and hills and obstacles.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there are lots of different options that are available to you depending on the actual level. no, you cannot test these levels without risking human life. Uh, so, unfortunately, there was a lot of experiments that had to be run where, uh, you know, science calls for sacrifice some
I
time to
suppose
time.
that's where the fun comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, you know where the ski lifts go wrong? Well, we see what happens when ski lifts go wrong. It's not great. So I was designing a lot of these lifts. I was like, oh, let me build a tower of wood, and I'll put a wheel at the top. I actually shared a few of my designs on Twitter, if you're so inclined, at Seagold113.
Yeah, please go see these. I've watched them all, and they are fantastic.
So, I think my favorite is the one where it's the two towers that are set up, and I was like, I thought I had set up one of the pieces of wood to be a support beam for the wheel at the top, but apparently this piece of wood was just short, probably by like maybe an inch. It was too short, and I didn't realize this. So I run the lift, and the guy goes up the first tower, no problem. Now, as soon as it started, that one piece of wood just flips down. It just immediately falls down, and it's just hanging there. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's not great.
That's
but
not supposed to happen.
That's not supposed to happen, but the whole thing is still staying up at this point. This is still good. As my skier got close to the tower, the wheel structure at the top collapsed. I mean, completely collapsed. And the skier, like, the whole chair came, like, flying down, but then it stopped at, like, just before it hit the bottom. The whole thing, like, jumped up and down. And by the whole thing, I mean, like, the whole winch where the skier was riding on the bench was jumped up and down and jostled a little bit, but the skier stayed on the bench and rode down as the structure was like swinging past him and under him, and he missed all of that and got to the top of the lift, rode down, and it was like, success. And I was like, what? Okay, I'll take it.
Look, it works. We don't have the budget to fix it. Just let it go, and we'll put a safety warning in the front of it or something that they have to sign.
Imagine how much easier it will be to ski down the mountain after how light you feel after you shit yourself getting to the top of the mountain.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, there was one where I built a tower not high enough, so a lot of my skiers were being flung into this one tree over and over and over again, to the point where I called it the murdering tree. These skiers were just being flung into it. It's like, and blood was just flying all over the place. I'm like, ugh, it's not great. And what's very disturbing, very macabre, is like, okay, this design isn't working. Let me go back and try again. So you go back and you'll adjust things and be like, okay, you'll fix it, and then, okay, run it again. The blood from the previous failed tries is still there. so the skiers who are riding past can look down and see the blood and be like, what is that? Oh, don't worry.
Oh, the previous skiers, they had some cranberry juice that fell out of their hands, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. That's certainly not blood. Well, I'm reassured. Yeah, it was. It was a lot.
Yep.
It was challenging. I will say, the game's physics are very realistic. I mean, you want to make sure that these designs, especially the ski ramps, where you're designing the jumps for the skiers, they have to be perfect. Because as the skier's coming down, if there's too much of an angle at the with the ramp, then they'll hit the ramp, but then they might jump up a little bit too high And then they'll like land back on the ramp, and then it'll kill their momentum, and then they'll just slide uselessly back to the bottom. So you're like, okay, so you have to go back, and you'll have to adjust the design, flatten it out a little bit, and make it a more smooth approach. There's a lot of thinking involved. There's a lot of going back and forth and trying to create the an ideal design for these for these skiers. It is fun though. I was having a blast just trying to design everything. I liked everyone's reactions to my ski towers, especially the ones that ones that worked in spite of themselves. Yeah, it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it looks fun. I can totally see like the value of like just watching these things go horribly wrong, and the ones that you posted are fantastic. I especially like the one where like it fails and the person like hits and like lands stomach first on the top of a mountain, and it just slowly slides down on his stomach like back to the beginning.
Oh yeah. The person hit like. What's funny is the person hit a caution sign. So they hit a danger sign, like watch out, and they hit it, and they went flying in the air, hit the ground, and they just, like you said, belly first, just belly on the ground, it slid backwards, just, and then just slid backwards until their feet hit the sign again, and they were just face down in the snow, blood trailed behind them, and it was like, oh, failed. And I was like, yeah, I know. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I would definitely recommend anyone play this game and give it a try. Triangles are your best friend. Yeah, structurally sound triangles, man. Nothing beats them.
Oh, there you go. You heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I have a degree in ski lift design, so
got an online degree.
Online degree from diplomas.
GiveUsYourMoney.com. School of screwing people over.
Yeah, fake.edu.
Well, there you go. Perhaps you'll consider a career in ski lift building.
Probably not.
Will you ride ski lifts now? After playing this game?
Probably not. Fun fact, I've never been skiing.
I also have never been skiing.
What do you really know?
Strange.
We should start a podcast.
About
don't ski repeatedly. What a lame podcast.
We got a lot of sub podcasts.
What did we talk about on Don't Ski Repeatedly? Oh, what you do this week?
Anything.
Not skiing, let me tell you.
Anything but skiing.
I've got nothing against skiing. I just have no desire to ever go.
Well, there we go.
All right. So that was
done.
that.
That's the episode.
That is not the episode, Justin. As you are very well aware of, this is the point in time where now I assign you the indie arcade game. Mm-hmm. Justin, real quick, any number between 1 and 4.
3.
All right. So, Justin, as you know, the past couple of indie arcades, I've taken it very easy on you. I've given you Wander Song. I've given you Ape Out. I just want you to know the honeymoon is over. It's done. So, as discussed
you were
earlier,
making up for my horse Prince, okay?
So, as I discussed earlier, Elena and I were brainstorming different ideas to give you for the indie arcade.
I can't even be mad that you guys teamed up because I team up with so many people to give you games.
Yes. So now I can fully reveal that the entire reason I did not assign you Old Man's Journey was because no, I don't want to give him another potentially acclaimed game. I don't want to give him something that might potentially be good. I rejected it outright. I was like, no, I want to give him some shit. And Elena was like, some shit, huh? Well, let me think up some ideas. So she came up with, it was initially a list of 3 that we had settled on. There was one game where she was like, oh, give him this. And I thought, no, I don't want to give him this. That's too much, even for me. I don't want to have to subject Justin to this. Well, you know what, Justin? I had a change of heart. So I'm including that game. Now, Elena doesn't even know this. The first time she hears this episode is the first time she's going to realize I brought that game back into the fold. There are 4 games now that are a potential for you to play. Now, here's a fun thing. I found a website called random.org. And
yes.
Random.org will let you randomly sort a list of things just completely at random. So what I have, Justin, is I have the site here, and I have the 4 possible games that you could play. They are listed in alphabetical order right now. And there's the randomize button. At the start of this segment, you chose the number 3. So what that means is, once I hit the randomize button, the 3rd game on this list is going to be your indie arcade title. And I'm going to hit it now, just so I have a chance to bring up the Steam page for it. Or in eShop, whichever you prefer. And
okay.
Let me see. So I will hit randomize now. Oh, you lucky bastard. You lucky son of a bitch. Well, then again, actually, you know what? No. Not what I know about this game. No, you didn't luck out. Okay, good. All right. I'm happy with this choice.
Wait. Oh, God, I don't like how this is going one bit.
All right, so let me bring this game up real quick. Hold on. What's this called again? Oh, right. It's not it's okay.
Oh man.
Here it is. Okay. Oh man, you're going to be so angry. All right. So, Justin, it is my distinct privilege and my pleasure. This game is on Steam, and your indie arcade title for this week is Dragon, a game about a dragon.
Oh no!
From the screenshots alone will throw you into conniptions. Dragon, a game about a dragon, is a colorful and lovingly hand-drawn action RPG inspired by the 16-bit era. Finally, you get to play as the dragon. Breathe fire, fight knights, hoard gold, and find treasure. A refreshingly lighthearted game with an endearing story. So, Justin, you get to be the dragon.
Okay, when I heard the name Dragon, I was afraid because I was thinking of what was that horrible 3D dragon game I made you play?
Oh, Chinbu's Adventure.
Yeah, Chinbu, yeah.
Yeah.
So this does not appear to be anything like that.
No, not at all. The game...
It's actually interesting. The art style is like someone drew in a notebook, like a dragon with like colored pencils and stuff.
And crayons.
And it's animated really interestingly. I kind of like it. But the gameplay looks really bad.
Yeah, it's got mixed reviews, which on Steam is a terrible sign. So, about this game, be a dragon in this beautifully hand-drawn adventure. Dragon's girlfriend has been whisked away by the mean king, and only you can help him find her. Use your dragon powers to charge into battle and face off against knights, soldiers, and other authoritarian elements so you can get your ride into the sunset ending. Hey, dragons deserve those too.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so... Yep, fly, breathe fire, hoard treasure, and watch trashy talk shows all day, just like a real dragon. Step into a tongue-in-cheek world that's guaranteed to bring a smile to your face. If your claws need to pack more of a punch, just level them up. If you think you're good enough to throw down with bosses without it, more power to you. Collect gold and treasures to increase your strength so you can take on bigger enemies, or jump in headfirst and defeat them on your skills alone. It's all about the freedom of choice. Players from all eras will have fun with Dragon, a game about a dragon. Please enjoy this charming and lighthearted tale of friendship, greed, and love, all from the perspective of the dragon.
Oh my god. I'm reading some of these reviews, and somebody got the game for $2. Right now it's on sale for $5. And they said $2 was asking too much. So
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to this.
Oh, I'm sure it will be fine. Maybe you'll have a positive experience with the game. I will say though, oh man, you are so lucky because of the games you got on this list, this one is probably the best. Especially
It's the small victories, people.
It's a tiny victory, but oh man, there was one game on this list. One I wanted you to get so bad. It was initially the one I rejected. I was like, oh, maybe he'll get this one, but no.
Can I have one guess as to a game that could be on the list? And if it is on the list, you have to tell me it was on the list.
Yes.
Are any of those games Panty Party?
So, Justin, your game is Dragon, a game about a dragon. And we should cut to a commercial break right now.
Is Panty Party on that list, Chris?
Yes, it is. Initially, that was the game Elena was like, give this one to Justin. And I was like, no, that's too much. Nah. But then I had to change my heart. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck that. I'll give him the chance. I decided, you know what? You're giving me the chances with these lists not to get any one particular game. I was like, I'll give you a chance. You had more of a chance to get Panty Party than I had to get any other type of game on your list. I will give you that.
The reasons I knew about Panty Party were two. One, it's very recent on the eShop, and I did come across it myself, and I was reading it, and I couldn't believe what the hell this was. And then a few days later, on an episode of Power Pros podcast, they did a dramatic reading of Panty Party, and it's hysterical. You actually play as a pair of panties.
I am very well aware of the gameplay. Like, trust me, I researched it. You play as the panties.
Yeah.
And it is a world where our main hero, she is transformed, I think, into a pair of panties, and she's thrust into a world where they have to save the day.
Oh boy.
So
I really dodged a bullet.
You really dodged a bullet, my friend. For the record, Panty Party after I hit randomize was 2. So if you had said 2, that is what you would have been stuck with for this week.
All right.
So you
Fair enough.
Got very lucky. Very, very lucky.
I accept Dragon, a game about a dragon, and I am excited to play it, I guess.
As excited as you possibly can be. It's no Ape Out. It's no Wander Song. You're done. You're done.
I understand.
All right.
What do you say we take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get a little weird.
Oh, mama.
back to Press A repeatedly. Justin Tomaso here with Christopher Gold, and yes, we are about to get a little weird.
Ooh, mama.
There's been a lot of weird stuff being announced in the news. Some stuff that Chris had brought up earlier in the pod that we'll talk about. And probably the two biggest, weirdest things, I guess. So we'll focus on them a little bit later. I want to start with a few other small weird things that came out in the past week. One is there was a Pokemon news conference that happened last week. And a couple new things were dropped from the Pokemon company, which is always fun to see. However, they're kind of weird. Mainly this new one called Pokemon Sleep. Chris, have you heard about this?
I have heard about it, but I don't really know the details behind it. From what I understand, it's kind of like it's a Pokemon game that you can play while you are asleep.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either. A lot of people have been speculating. I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago, Nintendo had mentioned in one of their briefings that they were working on this quality of life style of gameplay. They even had prototypes for a quality of life sensor for the Wii that you would like put your finger in.
Yeah. That never saw the light of day. I think to this day, Alex Navarro for Giant Bomb makes fun of that. He's like, I'm still waiting on that sensor, Nintendo.
Yeah. So a lot of people are thinking that maybe this is part of that. That's starting to come out. From what I've read, it's like almost like a sleep aid, like to help people sleep more. Like the more you sleep, the higher your Pokemon level raises or something. I think a lot of it stems from the success of Pokemon Go, of getting more people outside. So maybe they were thinking of the same logic, getting people to sleep better.
Yeah, because there are apps. A lot of apps out there that help track people's sleep. At this point, they track how long you've slept, if you set different goals, and if you've hit those goals for your sleep. Different people need different amounts of sleep to get through the day to keep them healthy. Maybe they're just gamifying that and applying Pokemon to that, where, if you hit 8 hours of sleep for a day, then you'll have a better chance of the app having, like, you'll wake up and you'll have good Pokemon that you need, and then I guess maybe during the day you can use them somehow. But to actually like catch the Pokemon, you need to have good sleep patterns.
Yeah, initial thoughts when I first saw that was, wow, this is really strange. But the more I thought about it, in Japan it might not be as strange. The Japanese are very far ahead of us in terms of technology. They've been doing stuff. They've been doing stuff like paying with your phone at like retail stores and stuff like years before we even started doing that here. And they're very technology heavy culture.
A lot better than ours too. Yeah.
Yeah. So they use tech for a lot of things that we wouldn't think of. Here so far. So maybe in Japan that makes a little bit more sense of this idea. And who knows? It could be something that catches on here really well. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's just one quick thing I wanted to talk about. The other quick thing would be, I don't know if you saw this, Chris, but the new Call of Duty game was unveiled last week. It's going to be called, weirdly, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. There already was a Call of Duty Modern Warfare game out, but this is not a remaster or a remake. This is a new game. Called Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it is being rumored that the multiplayer will be entirely cross-play through all platforms, including PC, which means you will be playing with the controller against somebody who's playing with a keyboard and mouse.
Oh, buddy. Oh man, I don't know about that. Keyboard and mouse for first-person games, especially like what if you're playing against somebody who's got like the I've got the Fellatio 7600, it runs at like 86 hertz and, clocks in at, 89 gigs of RAM, it's like it makes movements before I do. It's that like it's that good. How can you compete against that on a PS5? Like, you can't compete against that.
Yeah, it is rumored now. It's not 100% certain that that's going to happen. And it's also possible that if it does happen, there'll be like options to like separate it. So if you really don't want that experience, you can only play with PS4, PS5 people, or whatever. We'll wait and see. I don't know. I don't know how that would go. I don't think it would fare well for the controller players, but you never know.
I mean, it's something that they would just have to overcome. Like, I'm sure the designers have thought about that on their end. I'm assuming it's Treyarch again developing this game. They know the formula very well. They know what works and what doesn't for the Call of Duty formula, and I'm sure it's a question that obviously we have and other players will have is, how is that going to work? How are you going to balance the fairness between the two different control schemes? I guarantee the designers themselves have thought of that. They're not going to be like, oh shit, we didn't think of that. Like they've thought of that, and they're going to think of ways to balance the gameplay between everybody just to create a nice level playing field. Yeah. So that's I'm sure that they'll figure something out to keep that going. The naming scheme, I will definitely admit, is it's a little weird, but I mean, in fairness though, it's not too weird, because I mean, now I think of it, like God of War last year was released, and I mean, there was already a God of War that was released 10 years at least prior. Even in 2016, they came out with Doom, the remake of Doom. And I mean, that's not the first instance of the name Doom in a video game, So,
excellent point.
So I guess like it's not so unusual. Yeah, is it strange to give a name with that long a title, the same name as a previous entry? Sure, but I feel like if they decide, what, this game is strong enough to stand on its own, that'll it's fine. People will be able to play, and they'll be able to make distinctions between the first game and this game, because that one was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, whereas this one is just simply Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's a very slight difference, but it's a difference nonetheless. I also heard that this game is also going to feature, I think, a playable female Afghan soldier. I think it's an Afghan soldier, or is it an Arab soldier? I don't remember, but she's going to be, I believe, among the main playable characters, which is a first in the Call of Duty franchise, which is really cool to see. It's nice to see that they're expanding their options there.
Yeah, definitely. Some good progression there with that. And, we'll see I think October that it will be coming out. So,
Yeah, I've never been big into the Call of Duty games. I know it's one of the most popular franchises out there. My brothers were very much into Call of Duty when they were home and had the time to actually play games. Now both of them are actually in the military, so go figure.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Happy Memorial Day to them.
Happy Memorial Day to them indeed. And to everyone else out there.
Yes.
So that's Call of Duty. That's Pokemon. The other game that I want to dive into before we actually get into like the handhelds, it's the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and that is Death Stranding.
Yes.
Now, I'll talk briefly about Death Stranding because, spoilers, I actually had started writing an article detailing my initial thoughts about the trailer when it was first released, which I plan on putting up on the site at some point this week. So y'all can look forward to that once that drops. But as for the trailer itself, Kojima and Kojima Productions, they released the trailer. It was a 9-minute trailer. We got a release date for Death Stranding. It is coming out November 8th of this year, which I gotta say I'm surprised that they're slating it for this November. I would have thought that the game might take a little bit more time. Maybe it might get another delay where it'll push it into 2020. But right now they're pegging it for early November. So,
yeah, when I first saw that release date, I was like, oh, come on. Yeah, right. There's no way they're hitting that. But then I started thinking about how long ago we first heard about the game. It was like 5 years ago, I think, when the game was first shown off. So that's a long time.
It has been developing for a very long time, and that's when we first just heard of the game.
Yeah.
They obviously had to have been working on the game a little bit before showing off whatever it is that they had at the time.
Right.
Yeah, so we not only got the release date, we actually got some gameplay, and we got a little bit more clarification from the trailer and from Kojima himself about what the game might actually be about. Now, we got an explanation, but people still are like, okay, but what is this game about?
Yeah.
So from what I understand, so the game features Norman Reedus, and it appears that he is a delivery person in a post-apocalyptic world where he has to deliver these babies in a bag, and they're apparently called bridge babies, and the bridge babies do things, and they're important. So they have to get from point A to point B. They have to bridge the divide between people somehow. And let me see. There's Mads Mikkelsen, and the gameplay footage was showing Norman Reedus walking along like these
up
hills.
A ladder.
He's like pulls out a ladder, sets the ladder down, and he's walking across the ladder to get across this little valley.
It was Norman Reedus using a ladder incorrectly.
Yeah, pretty much. So he uses this ladder to traverse the world, and there was also a segment where it's like, was it BKs or BTs? I think that's what they're calling those.
I think it was BTs, and I wasn't sure what
BTs.
it stood for.
Yeah, and they did not explain what the BTs were in terms of what that actually means. But the BTs are those invisible frogmen.
Froggies, yeah.
The invisible froggies that they showed in that one trailer, where the little device that he has, where it's got a little clicky, almost looks like Flood's black sheep cousin from like Super Mario Sunshine. It's like, there's an invisible froggy right over there. Like its mouth starts like going like crazy, and it lets out these waves that goes like boom, and it shows the outlines of the invisible froggies, and they'll notice you. Like if you aren't stealthy enough, they'll notice you, and then they'll like chase you, and they'll catch you, and then there's like some black goop that catches you. Based on what I'm seeing in the trailer, it was all very weird. Very weird. And Kojima's like, well, it's, the whole game is about building connections with people and bridging divides, and how, we're connected through technology, but we're not actually connected as people, because, you can't form genuine connections with people if you're separated physically. And I'm like, okay, I don't really get how this game is like trying to tell this story, or if it's coming across very well. I also, just put it out there. I was not a fan of like just Kojima has always had a problem with like just not to be this guy, but he's always had a problem with the way that women are represented in his games. And this game, like, just from the trailer, you've got like, oh, you know, the men are called things like Die Hard Man, which is just the stupidest shit. And the women are called like Mama and Fragile. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, this same guy who like had in Metal Gear Solid 5, you had the one girl, this one sniper, one of the best snipers in the world, whose name was Quiet.
Oh,
and, yeah, and she wore a bikini.
She wore like ripped rags.
Yeah, she wore a bikini, and the explanation was, oh, she has to breathe through her skin, so she needs as much skin exposed as possible. Like, get the hell out of here, dude. Like, no, that shit's not flying. Like, it's just, it just feels very like, you know, for a guy who's considered as much a genius and an auteur as Hideo Kojima is, it just feels very childish and immature to have that sort of thing in his games, especially when he's like trying to tell a message with them. And
yeah,
I don't know, man. Like I'm just not. The more I learn about the game, at first I was like, maybe like I want to learn more about this, but the more I'm learning about the game, the more and more I am being like, okay, pass. Like I really don't want to give this game a try, because as you know, I don't know if a lot of our listeners know, it was probably the one opinion that I'd have would be most controversial with everyone out there is I'm not a really big fan of the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
I also am not a very big fan of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Now, granted, I really haven't played them that much, but they just...
same, but the whole series was just like a couple hours of gameplay, and then you get like hours and hours and hours of cutscenes, which, okay, yeah, maybe you can get invested in the characters and the story and all that, but you're playing the game like for just such a minimal amount of time just to get from point A to point B to literally continue the story along, and the gameplay itself really, to me, is not that compelling. It's not enough to really keep me going or be like, oh, this is great, I'm having a great time, you know, oh, this is fun, blah, blah, blah. Really wasn't. Like, I understand that it jump-started the stealth genre, and, you know, everyone loves Snake and a lot of those characters that the series introduced, but it just didn't really do anything for me. And this game, it just looks like it's, just from what I've seen, it looks like it's more of the same. I was actually, like, laughing when they showed the one part of the trailer where Norman Reedus is running around in the valley, and those enemies in the hazmat suits are trying to whack him with sticks.
Oh yeah, that was hysterical.
And I'm like, well, this is the game. This is it.
You want a gameplay? You got it.
You want a gameplay? You got it. And there's these guys like trying to beat Norman Reedus with these
sticks.
Yeah,
I'm imagining like the Benny Hill theme in the background. He's just trying to escape these guys. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I never understood the fervor behind Kojima and Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Even going back to the NES, like Metal Gear games, like I never got it. I always thought they were like ridiculously over the top, stupid, like crazy action games that are way more cutscenes and gameplay and stuff. And you know, I remember reading all the stuff about Konami, you know, really screwing over Kojima and like really like kind of keeping him under like a microscope and not really letting him be too creative and stuff. And I thought that was crap. But now I'm seeing what a fully unhinged and unleashed Kojima is and what it is producing, and I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, he does need some people to tell him he can't do some things, because
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
been 5 years of teasers and trailers of Death Stranding, and I thought every time a new one dropped, I was like, okay, this is the one. This is the one that's going to explain what this game is about, what you're doing in this game, how it works, the story. Like, this is going to be the trailer that makes me interested and see what everybody else is seeing, and it never happens. And the fact that this last 9-minute trailer that just came out last week that actually did show gameplay, which was a little bit surprising, and gave a release date, which was a little surprising, it's still just nothing at all that interests me. And I don't want to dunk all over it. Like, I know a lot of hard work went into this game and this team, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that will buy it and like it. And there were some parts of the trailer I thought looked kind of cool, but like just the fact that no one in the world really knows the story of this game, maybe outside of Kojima, and now I'm starting to think maybe he doesn't even know what's going on in this game. I don't know. It's just exhausting.
He's just like sitting at his desk, like, hands over his face, like staring through his fingers. There's notes upon notes upon notes all over him, and there's like he's staring at a Word document with like, Death Stranding. In the beginning, Norman Reedus carried a baby, and the little blinker cursor is blinking, and he's like, oh crap, I don't know what the fuck to type. Like, I don't know what comes next.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Death Stranding just like, and that's the thing, like getting back to the topic at hand in terms of weirdness in video games, I feel like, there is a certain appeal to do weird things, and that is to break from the considered norm in games, because that's how you get a lot of the great innovations and the uniqueness of games, and how the industry expands. You try new things that nobody has tried before, and it works great. It doesn't, then so be it. But sometimes I feel like a lot of these companies or these devs, they kind of venture so far outside the box that they get lost, and it's a little much. Like we talked about at the jump, we talked about the Playdate that Panic is developing. Panic, for the record, they were the publishers of Firewatch, came out a few years ago. So that was their claim to fame before they announced the development of the Playdate. And then there was the Ouya console that just recently announced that they were discontinuing services. So unfortunately, unfortunately for them, it's a failure. So I feel like a lot of those ideas, they try to capture a subset. They try to capture the imagination of a lot of people who are like, oh, this is something new. It's something different. They're trying something unique and fresh, and people want to give those types of ideas a chance to succeed and thrive. But some of them don't really have that sticking power or that that uniqueness to keep people interested for very long. And I don't know, like the Ouya didn't work because of a lot of like structural idea. It was an idea that was ahead of its time, basically. They didn't have the infrastructure in place to maintain it. And the Playdate, I gotta say, when I first saw it, I was interested. I was like, oh, this seems like it might be a cool device. But the more I've learned, the more I'm thinking, I don't know if this is really going to be something that really takes off.
The video game industry is, of course, bigger than it's ever been. It's one of the biggest industries in the world right now. So, of course, there is room for new, innovative styles of play. I think the industry is asking for it. I think the fans, they want to see that stuff. And it's very, very difficult to compete, with the main consoles and PC nowadays. You would have to have such a strong, support system from third parties plus a strong first party log, and it's just a very strong challenge to compete. You've seen, like Sega fall to the wayside and everything, and so I think there is a lot of room open for different styles, new ways of play. We saw, and we're seeing a lot of it. We saw Google Stadia when that was shown off a few weeks ago. Amazon is doing their own sort of video game thing that they're working on. Apple's video game service has gotten a little bit stronger, and now we see this Playdate, which I agree. When I first saw it, I was pretty interested. I think this has potential to work. If like Chris described it earlier in the show, but like it's a small handheld system that has a couple buttons, and it has a crank on the side, like a turning crank, like something that could be used. Like, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is like a fishing game, right? Like that would work fantastically for some sort of fishing style game.
Oh yeah,
on the system. But there's a lot of questionable things that come with the system as well that are raising some eyebrows. Like, one, the price tag at $150 seems a bit steep to me.
That seems very steep to me.
Yes. You mentioned before that there is no backlight currently due to the technology in the LCD screen. Apparently, putting a backlight in was causing a lot of problems and not working properly, and the screen is too reflective for a front light. So at this time, they have no answer to like a way to illuminate the screen. So basically, if you get this thing, you gotta play it old school Game Boy style, where you need some sort of light source to be able to play it. You can't like sit up in bed at night or like sit in the back of your car.
Wait for street lights. To wait for street lights to pass by, and you play like 2 seconds of gameplay.
Yeah, so you can see a little bit. Yeah, the whole system of how you're paying for games before even knowing what they are seems kind of weird to me. I don't really like that idea of like, it's a big upfront cost where you're getting all these games. Well, what if all these games blow? Like, I don't even know what I'm getting. I'd rather read about these games and kind of pick what I want to play and what I want to give my money to.
Yeah.
Rather than, just kind of get everything and weed through some crap and see what's good and what's not. I applaud the creativity of this thing, and I am interested. And it seems like people are interested. A lot of pre-orders have gone up for this thing already. But I am curious to see how it launches, what the reviews are like, and what people really think when it does come to market.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I'm taking more of a wait and see approach on it as well, because that price tag is very, very steep. I'm not a fan of having to pay for all those games up front either. And man, it's just like, it's an out of the box type of design. It's something that no one is really it's an old school idea, and the idea of releasing games one at a time progressively is interesting, sure, but you gotta know what the games are. You gotta know what to expect. Like, maybe if they had a list of the games, and say like, oh, this is what these games are about, and which game is going to be released on one day, you'll have to get the system to find out. But at least you would know, okay, these are the games, these are the availabilities, and you'd be like, oh, maybe I'll get this game, or maybe I'll get that game. You'd have some idea of what is actually coming down the line.
Yeah.
That price point too. I mean, and I cannot stress enough, this thing is tiny. Like, I've seen many pictures of people holding the thing. It is quite literally just the size of your hand. Like it's just literally the size of your palm. And it is tiny, and it's got like the little crank to the side, and $150 for that just seems like way steep. Even if it was half the price, that would be a little more reasonable, but I'd prefer that to come down still a little. But $150, man, oof, that's that's tough. And I get that, it's a unique idea and you need to be able to pay the developers of these games, as well as Panic. They're the ones who are funding the system itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't think it's an idea. I feel like they've strayed a little too far. And it's getting to the Ouya. It's interesting that you mentioned the Google Stadia, because it feels like they're kind of picking up the ball from where Ouya was dropping it. That's sort of the rumors that are going on about the next gen systems. Is it's going to be very, very streaming heavy and very streaming focused, where you might not. They might be going similar to like a Netflix or a Spotify model for video games, where you'd be paying a fee monthly to stream certain games to your console. And I don't know if I'm really a fan of that type of future, because on the one hand, yes, Google certainly has much more. They have many more resources, and they have the infrastructure and the know-how to be able to maintain those servers, to be able to play those games much better than the Ouya team did. But on the other hand, as of the day that we recorded this, Justin, Google Cloud just got through a major outage.
Yeah.
Where it pretty much shut down a lot of services and websites all along the eastern seaboard that relied on Google Cloud. For example, YouTube, Snapchat, one of my favorite baseball websites, Fangraphs, they're hosted on Google Cloud. They were down. Instagram was down. And relevant to us, I even messaged you earlier about this. Discord, which we use to record, that's what we use to communicate. That was down also. Thankfully, they managed to get everything back up in time for us to actually record this episode. But for a time there, we were thinking, oh God, we might have to go back to Skype.
Yeah, you make a great point there. I'm worried about the whole streaming service overtaking how games work as well. Especially just having everything based on internet connection is kind of getting me a little worried. Not too excited about the future of games if they start to go that route. But, for the time being, we're just going to have to, I don't know, see how these start to unfold. I mean, I'm sure there's still a lot of testing that needs to be done. We're going to learn a lot more about Stadia itself at this E3. And, we'll see if that becomes something or not. But yeah, the Playdate seems like a really cool concept. It does seem like a lot of money. You can buy a brand new Nintendo 2DS for $120 right now, and that thing can play A Link Between Worlds. Or you can spend $150 on the Playdate and play like a black and white Hangman game. It could be more than that.
Right.
But I don't know.
And I could see the argument to that as being like, you're supporting, if you're by the Playdate, you're supporting a new idea, you're supporting a unique idea. It encourages, if people see that newer ideas are being supported by the industry or by the public, then people are more likely to say, I'm willing to, let's try new things, let's go outside the box. But my counter to that is, people are trying new things and going outside the box all the time. Just look at the wealth of indie games that has exploded within the past 5 years or so. Just the multiple unique ideas and concepts that have come out there. Even some of the AAA games have tried newer and unique ideas over the years. Like, the video game industry is growing and expanding crazy ways, but they haven't gone so far outside the box where they've kind of lost sight of what it is that people actually want. And I don't know. I feel like Ouya was too ahead of its time, and it wasn't doing enough to really justify itself and its own existence. And I feel like Playdate is kind of the same way, where it's a cool idea, it's a neat concept, but in terms of actually having staying power, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, well said. And I think that is the last weird topic that we are going to discuss tonight.
I think so. Yeah, I think this was a pretty good discussion. We talked a lot about what makes gaming weird, and what works, what doesn't. And I think it's it's a good lead into to E3 next week, because we got the E3 is always where they show off like all sorts of new unique things, and it's like, whoa, no one was expecting that or this. I feel like E3 has lost some of its luster over the past few years, certainly, but it's still the main event of the year in terms of when news is released. Everything revolves around E3 still. So I'm excited to see what they've got to show off.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll always be excited for it until, I guess, the show eventually fizzles out completely. I think the idea of having some sort of event that shows off a lot of new upcoming games for all systems and consoles is a great idea. I think it's great for the industry. And, I just love watching all the cool and weird and cringeworthy stuff that comes out of E3 together with my friends, with the team. It's always a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it as per usual. We will be back. Our next episode will be a full E3 recap like we do every year. We'll go over all the conferences. We'll dive into what we liked, what we didn't like, what we thought was crazy. And just kind of go one by one down the list and go over everything. And, we'll have a ton of stuff to talk about. So I hope you'll be excited and eagerly anticipating that episode.
Yep, I can't wait.
All right, and that's all for this week. Remember, Press Day repeatedly posts new episodes Tuesdays on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or to tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page or on Twitter and Instagram. We are at PAR_podcast. I'm at cgold113, and Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's parpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to check us out on our website on pressarepeatedly.com. And that's all for this week. Chris and Justin signing off. And remember to slash away at the goblin berserkers to get through the spooky, scary cave. Press A repeatedly.